Dr. Nan Hayworth, former Congresswoman, joins us now, and she's currently of the Independent Women's Forum. Nan, I mean, you're the genius that went to all the fancy schools and did the doctor stuff. I'm just an idiot. Do we vaccinate kids for things that are of no threat to them at all?
There is no reason to vaccinate children for COVID unless they have a particular vulnerability. The children to whom that would apply are very well known to their parents and to their doctors. No one else needs it in this age category, and arguably they should not be receiving it. We're going to see adverse reactions because these kids all have, probably most of them, have robust natural immunity, which, by the way, is actually better for them in the long run than vaccine-induced immunity. So we're going to be seeing adverse consequences. We're putting children through a process that they don't need to be put through, potentially at risk. And it comes at enormous expense. And why is it being done? Primarily because the teachers' unions are demanding it.
Nan, could you please connect the dots for me on that? Why would the teachers' unions demand such a thing? What do they get out of this? It's just such a tangled web. Why the teachers' unions?
Yeah, well, Jesse, I call them the extortion division of the Democrat Party. So the teachers' unions are one of the means through which the Democrats essentially launder taxpayer money to go back into Democrat pockets, because as we all know, teachers' unions extract enormous amounts of cash from taxpayers, and they do it with the force of government's law and arms to demand all kinds of claims for extra precautions, extra supplies, extra this, extra that. And while they should always have the resources they need, and certainly we don't want any teacher who's at risk to suffer because of COVID, this is a pretext for pouring more money into the education government complex. And Jesse, as you pointed out on your show last night, we certainly do have to always bear in mind that there can be a very cozy relationship between Big Pharma, of whom I am in many ways a fan. I even worked with the industry at one point, between Big Pharma and government. So Pfizer must be smiling really broadly right now.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, Nan, because I'm not some wingnut, okay? I don't tell people how to live their lives. I've never told anyone not to take a vaccine or anything. I just don't live like that. But how am I supposed to be anything other than completely creeped out when I have Pfizer sponsoring every nightly news program now, when I have Pfizer ramping up their lobbying efforts, and almost out of nowhere, we're about to have mandates for kids to take a vaccine they don't need. Now, it doesn't take tinfoil on your head to realize there's something wrong here.
Right. No, Jesse, it's one thing when these vaccines are being offered in the marketplace. And yes, public health officials can certainly weigh in and they can say, gosh, I think it's a good idea for these reasons. And others may say, you know what? I don't think my patients need it for these reasons. And, that's the way a healthy marketplace works. It's voluntary. But when the government has stepped in now to mandate this, and to mandate this very expensive, very unnecessary intervention, that will indeed, and bravo to Pfizer for developing a vaccine and going through the very expensive, I know it well, process of appropriate phase research to conclude that it is safe and then effective. But this stinks to me. This is not good.
Nan, I'm going to play you a little video of your illustrious mayor, Bill de Blasio, and I'll tell you, this freaking guy. Watch this, Nan.
We did the vaccinate or test option, but it hasn't gotten us where we need to go. So we say vaccinate. If you choose not to, you have the right to go on unpaid leave. We're going to work with your union to figure out what happens next. But the bottom line is we're not going to pay people unless they're vaccinated. They don't lose their jobs. They can correct and come back. I think that's compassion. I think that's right. But the bottom line is 96% of our education employees did it. 96% of our healthcare workers did it. It's time for everyone else.
Yeah, that's the problem, Nan. Even 5% of the police force or firefighters lost in New York is a really, really, really big deal at a time
Yep.
that that city can sorely not afford losing those guys, and none of these communists seem to care.
No, they don't care. Bill de Blasio does not care. Jesse, he lives in a very sheltered, very well resourced at taxpayer expense in large measure bubble. And like every Democrat politician, pretty much, he has literally no ability to process data, evidence, facts, practical considerations. This doesn't enter into their world. Why? Because their world is all about government coercion. You know, you can throw reason out the window when you can, like, literally, I mean, what is the defining property of government? And I don't mean to sound apocalyptic, but literally the defining property of government is that it can use violence against the citizens. That is the policing power. We see it in Australia. People are getting tackled on the streets for not wearing a mask or for, trying to go too long a distance from their house. It is insane. And that's Australia. They used to be, kind of relatives of ours. And it can happen here, too. What Bill de Blasio is doing is wrong. The only person who should lose his job is Bill de Blasio.
Hey, thanks so much for watching The First on YouTube. If you liked what you saw, go ahead and like and subscribe. You heard me. Like it, subscribe. You'll get a lot more of it and a lot more of me.